Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Cabral Concept. Great to have you here on the show today. Looking forward to getting into this Training Thursday, where actually the topic is going to be, yes, part training, but also really focused on anti-aging. And I really want a lot of these Thursday shows to be a balance between toxicity-based shows, what toxins should we be aware of, how do we continue to remove these, working on anti-aging, and of course, training and exercise. So today's show, all of those notes will be at stephencabral.com/1511. But really what I want to talk about today, and very rarely do I ever do this, but one of my great virtual-based mentors was Deepak Chopra. I used to love listening to his material way back, probably 15 years ago, 20 years ago, when I was really getting into natural health, and I was starting to learn a bit more about Ayurveda and a bit more about integrating Ayurveda with functional medicine. And a lot of people don't know this, but before Deepak Chopra became this more of like a spiritual-based leader, I guess, or someone that's really looking more towards the quantum mechanics side of things, or the quantum field with spiritual energy and talking about the subtle body, just like the Vedas used to do back in the day, or actually the yogic seers. What they used to talk about was the body was essentially an energetic being or an energetic entity that was directly connected with everything about it. So that's really what he's most known for now, but a lot of people forget that he's an actual medical doctor, that I believe his background is actually as a cardiologist. So when I go through today's review, you'll start to see a little bit of that medical-based training background. And so what I'd like to do is share with you, if you've never read the book before, Grow Younger, Live Longer, 10 Steps to Reversing Aging, I'd actually like to share with you the major points of this in case you've never read the book. I think you'll see some similarities with what I do teach myself on a daily basis and what I subscribe to and really what I promote. Now, the more important thing, I'd say, even before we get into those 10 steps, is Dr. Chopra actually outlines about 15 or so of the biological markers of aging. And we've never really kind of gone over them all at once. We talk about them on different shows. So I'd like to explain those first, just over a couple minutes, and then get into the 10 steps he gives to growing younger and living longer. And I think that you'll really enjoy these from both a metaphysical perspective as well as an actual science-based, what do we do? What are the action steps we can take? So the biomarkers of aging, as we start to get into this, is the first one is this, aerobic capacity. Now, aerobic capacity, I'm not going to spend too long on each one, but aerobic capacity is our ability to actually do work aerobically. Now, what would that mean? Well, it's like, can you jog for a mile? Because if you can't, it might be a sign that you need to work on your aerobic capacity. I know a lot of people are doing strength training, a lot of people are doing other forms of exercise, but I do believe that people should be able to go out for a 20-minute bike ride and be able to jog a mile. I mean, if you can't jog a mile, I talked way back before about the FBI test that I used to train a few people for. So I'm going to come out with a part 2 of that, of like the aerobic and anaerobic test that people should be able to pass at no matter what the age. So I really like to look at that. Antioxidant levels, well, those are our nutrients in our body that we produce endogenously, something like superoxide dismutase, but more like taking in vitamin C and B vitamins and brightly colored fruits and vegetables. And those can begin to lower as we age, and we start to see the signs of that through wrinkles and thinning skin, etc. Auditory threshold, that would be our hearing, our blood pressure, our blood sugar regulation, our body fat percentage, and I've gone over this before. Women, 18 to 22%, no more than 26%. Men, 14 to 18%, no more than really 20 to 22% maximum. He doesn't have waist-hip ratio in there, but I can't really talk about body fat without talking about waist-hip ratio. Sorry, men, 0.95, women, 0.8. bone density, we get that checked as we age. Cholesterol and lipid levels. I know that there's a lot of people that say, oh, don't worry about how high your cholesterol levels are. I'm not that person for sure, because I have way too many colleagues as cardiologists, and they are functional medicine cardiologists as well, and they are not subscribing to the 250 for total cholesterol is okay. It's not. Okay. And again, you want to play things safe. You want to be conservative when it comes to your health. Trust me. You can be risky in other areas of your life, but don't take risks when it comes to the major cause of death, which is essentially cardiovascular disease. Okay. Hormonal levels. We'll be talking much more about this in the future in terms of bioidentical hormones, which I'm not a huge proponent of, okay, bioidentical hormones, because what I want to do is help the body boost its own endogenous production of hormones. I work with many, many people on bioidentical hormones, and my job is to get them on the lowest dose where they feel fantastic. That's my job. Okay, immune function. This is really important because we want to make sure that as we age, that we are staying healthy. You know, if you are constantly sick, that's not a very good sign. Or if you have an autoimmune issue, not a good sign. So we want to work on those particular things. Metabolic activity, well, simply maintaining a healthy body weight and also the overall metabolism of the body in terms of breaking down food, utilizing that energy essentially for fuel. Skin thickness, this is a big one. As we age, if our skin gets thinner and thinner, well, we're more prone to all sorts of issues. Believe it or not, you can allow more pathogens in through the skin if the skin microbial layer is not adept, or it's not where it should be in terms of its own immune cells. You can start to lose hair on your head and body if the skin's too thick because there's not proper blood flow, can't hold the follicle in place. So many reasons. Temperature regulation, this is another big one. A lot of people, as they age, they start to feel more cold, or they feel they have worse circulation, they're cold hands and feet. And we've spoken about that a little bit before, as well as in that lowered metabolism. And then there is vision, making sure that our vision is strong. So these are really nice markers. This is on page 18 of the book. I'll go through it basically chapter by chapter. There's only 10 steps that we want to take. So what do we do in terms of regulating these biomarkers of aging and many more? Again, these are just the highlights, but this is really important because what happens if you are more overweight? Well, you're more prone to cancer, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, metabolic syndrome. Muscle mass and muscle strength are in there as well. Those are really important for fall prevention and for metabolism. So again, all of these have its place. And the first step, if we're moving through these steps 1 through 10 in this book, Grow Younger, Live Longer. All right, so the first step is probably the most important. And I really believe this. And that's why I dedicate a full show every single week to mindset, right? So Mondays are Mindset and Motivation Monday. And Deepak's very first step is change your perceptions about biological age. And this is so crucial because so many of us believe by the time we hit 40, oh, everything's downhill from there. Oh, I'm supposed to start losing energy. Oh, I'm supposed to get those genetic-based issues with high cholesterol or high blood pressure or Hashimoto's or rheumatoid arthritis, and that there's just nothing you can do because everyone in your family had this. So, yeah, of course, you're going to get it too. Well, what we have to do first is if we ever hope to regain total wellness of our being in both mind and body, we need to believe that it's actually possible. So we need to do what he calls escaping that prison. So it's actually changing. So escaping the prison of conditioning. Whatever you believe to be true today about your health, and if it's from a negative standpoint, we need to rewire that circuitry. We honestly do. Because where the mind goes, the body follows. That's just the bottom line. You can fake it for a little bit, but if your thermostat is set at a certain condition, meaning like, well, it's only a matter of time before I XYZ. And it can go with, again, if this was a Motivation Mindset Monday, I'd be talking about relationships or finances or spirituality or body or health or like whatever it might be. Okay? So you need to reset that thermostat, which means rewire your conditioning to believe that you can actually be healthy, that you can have the body that you want, you can have the health that you want. I had to do that myself. And it wasn't an overnight process for me. Maybe it will be for you. But for me, it took a little bit of time. But it was pretty much the most important thing that I ever did. Because with that, then everything followed. I said, oh, well, if I could rewire this, if I could actually change what I believe to be true for me for health, what else could I do? And everything followed from there with relationships and all of those things. And it doesn't mean that my life is perfect or things are perfect on a daily basis, but it means to me that all things are possible. So that if I haven't gotten it right yet, there is still a possibility I am able to get it right, that I am able to fix whatever needs to be fixed. And so that's what we want for you as well. Change your perceptions about how you should age. I work with people in my practice, and they are 60 years old, and they don't do any physical activity. Their body's, broken down, all of those different things. And I work with some people at 60 years old and honestly 80 years old. They are skiing, they're playing sports, they're still working. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I look at them and I'm like, this person's healthy and fit. I actually am thinking about one person in my practice right now. They're 80 years old, and he is my role model right now. He doesn't know it, but he's my role model for right now for what I want to be doing when I'm 80 years old. I mean, it's unbelievable. It is a youthful mind, and it is allowing him then to have more of a youthful based body. And the same goes for women as well. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Again, many women in my practice, same thing. 60s could be, well, it could be kind of like just slowing down, right? Slowing down with everything and just trying to take it as easy as possible. And some women in their 60s I have women that are working out, that are doing yoga classes, that are on second careers, I'm just doing so many amazing things. So that's what I want for you as well, is we're starting to just think, hey, I don't know how to do it yet, but let me at least believe, or what I call suspending disbelief, and allowing myself to believe that this might be possible. If one other person can do it, maybe I can as well. So just start there. The second step is this. It is that we need to improve what Deepak calls our restful awareness, as well as our restful sleep. Really simple, really straightforward. That we develop a quiet, mindful practice. Many people call it meditation. It could be walking meditation. It could be breathing. It could be Tai Chi. It could be Qigong. He says 20 minutes twice a day. I usually start with 10 minutes twice a day for most people. 10 minutes upon waking, grab yourself a glass of water, whatever you like first, and 10 minutes before bed. Those are two very important anchors in order to quiet your mind. Focus on your breath. Feel the sun on your face. If you're outside doing a quiet meditation, feel the grass under your feet. Whatever it might be, it is basically restful, quiet, mindful awareness and being at peace with your environment. And then the restful sleep at night means that we need to get our body in normal biological rhythms. And again, Deepak agrees because both of us are following Ayurvedic-based traditions. Get your body to bed by 10 p.m. at the latest. Wake up with the sun, somewhere around 6 p.m. or so, and make sure that is deep, restful sleep. So do whatever you need to do in order to get into that deep, restful sleep. Using the deep sleep protocol, again, calming the mind, all of those different things, but absolutely crucial to your success. All right, the next one is going to be on, see if I can flip to that page. Step number 3, nurturing your body through healthy food. And again, this goes back to what do we do? What do we have the most science behind as well? Well, we know that 7 to 9 servings of fruit and vegetable every single day is able to help with the 4 major causes of the risk factors for death, which essentially makes up 70 to 75% of all causes of mortality. So that's cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure and stroke, type 2 diabetes, and cancer. There are no guarantees in life, right? There are no guarantees against cancer or some of these different things. But there's a lot we can do. There really is. And so if we eat a predominantly plant-based diet, and I know there's a lot of people promoting really low carb, low vegetable, low fruit-based diets out there. Here's the issue. I understand it for the short term. People are doing it because they have autoimmune and gut-based issues. That's the truth. But going on a diet that doesn't feed that bacteria or feed that yeast isn't solving the problem. You're looking at this from a very superficial standpoint. And I'm not saying this in a condescending manner at all. What I want you to do is heal from the inside out. And the only way to do that is to rebalance that gut microbiome if you feel better on a super low carb diet. Because we don't have long-term studies that say eating a ton of meat allows you to live longer. Probably on the contrary right now. But I'm open to that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm open to it. And I understand that a lot of people doing this are trying to do more grass-fed and pasture-raised. Well, that's much better. But there's no research that shows this is better than eating these brightly colored fruits and vegetables that humans would have easily gravitated to because there would not have been any difficulty or fight against getting them. Now, again, we can talk about Ice Age and all those things. I'm not going there. I'm going with how humans were originally built, right? And what we would have easy access to. So really important, follow whatever diet you'd like, but just make sure that it is closer to the Mediterranean diet. I have a podcast called The Foundation of All Diets, and because that's what we have great research on. Like you'd be really hard pressed to find a better foundational diet than that. And that's what we promote in a lot of our programs. And also 7 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. And I have many podcasts on how to get that as well. The majority of that should be vegetables. Okay. Step number 4 is using nutritional supplements wisely. And what Deepak means is using nutritional supplements wisely. So again, you're coming from a medical doctor, an Ayurvedic-based doctor, and a spiritual-based teacher. Still saying that nutritional supplements are important. You have to understand is that there's a lot of people out there that are idealists. I was an idealist at one time. I said, we can just do this through whole food. It does not work in our day and age. It doesn't work. And that's because I can take anyone's diet. I can take anyone's diet and I can plug it into my software in order to look at all your vitamins and minerals for the day and your fiber and all that, and you will come up short. It's just the way that it is. Now, both Deepak and I both believe that you don't need mega doses of supplements. Now, you might be under a doctor's care or a practitioner's care, and for a shorter period of time, 12 to 16 weeks, you might be using a higher dosage. That is normal to push the body back into balance because we live in a pretty toxic world and things can happen. And if you don't want to use medication, well, you have to use something, right? So we can't pretend like we don't need something to get our body back into balance. So we both agree, and Deepak agrees, a good activated multivitamin, something like that, getting your vitamin D, looking at using vitamin C, B vitamins. We agree on the same things. And that's because they've been proven over and over and over and over, right? So you can use the herbs of Ayurveda, but you can also use the best of functional medicine, which are vitamins and minerals. You just don't want to do mega dosing for a longer period of time. And by a longer period of time, I mean like years, okay? All right, next up is step number 5, and that is enhancing the mind-body integration. So when we talk about mind and body, and I've chatted about this before in terms of mind-body means your psychology, your actual way of thinking affects your physiology, your body. And your body, your physiology, like if you're feeling bloated and uncomfortable, well, that affects your mind as well. So Deepak says, put these basically actions into practice. And that is performing some type of breathing technique. And he calls it pranayama, 5 to 10 minutes daily. Perform 10 to 15 minutes of yoga, tai chi, or qigong each day, and practicing body awareness and learning to follow the healthy signals when they're conflicting with messages from my mind. Okay, so it's basically learning self-awareness, right? It's literally listening to your body. So a little different than the meditation we were talking about earlier, which is the quieting of the mind and also that deep, restful sleep. Now we're talking about taking some more action-based steps to actually begin to integrate mind-body. One of those things that's not very well known in the West is alternate nostril breathing. I will talk about this on a future podcast, but if you'd like to look it up now, you're welcome to. Alternate nostril breathing is very easy to implement. And it's only now beginning to be able to be understood by the West. But what it can do is it can actually balance your sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight, and your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest, relax, and digest. So by doing alternate nostril breathing, maybe for a couple minutes after your meditation or before, typically after, quieting first, and then you can start to rev up a little bit for the day, or that's those yoga stretches at any time during the day. Could be after a workout, right? That would work as well. Or Tai Chi and Qigong. These are a little different, right? So Hatha Yoga would be part of that. So this is integrating your energy and letting it flow through the body. I'm a huge proponent of Qigong. I haven't been with it for a couple of years now, and it's something that I do want to get back into. I got tremendous benefit doing Qigong when I was trying to regain a lot of energy in my body. So some really nice mind-body-based techniques as well. All right, the next is step 6, and that is reversing your biological age through exercise. Since we talk about this all the time, I won't go too deep into it, but it really is aerobic, that means your cardio, and anaerobic. And just a couple weeks ago, I went over some Friday Review research, and it showed by doing up to 1 hour a week of strength training, reversed essentially all-cause mortality, especially cardiovascular-based risk, by over 25%. It was about 27%. And by doing 1 day a week of running, just aerobic-based work, you could call it upright bike, you could call it rowing, you could call it elliptical, whatever you like. 1 day a week of that again, reduced all-cause mortality by over 27% as well. So when we look at these things, we say, wow, exercise can reduce our chance for risk by about a fourth. Like just wipe off 25% right there, right? So it's such a huge part. And when I've talked about it before, and with sauna, 19 minutes, 5 days a week, well, what happened was we reduced all-cause mortality by about 42% and cardiovascular risk by over 60%. I mean, pretty amazing, right? So these things are things that we can absolutely do. And here's the problem, right, with exercise. Easy not to do, right? Easy to do, easy not to do. Because you don't have to crush your body in order to do it. We're just talking about some strength training. We're talking about some walking. That's every day. And then we're talking about some aerobic-based work once a week. But it takes about carving out about 30 minutes, 3 to 4 days a week. And now I'd love a little bit more, but that's great. I mean, you have the 30 minutes. Like you can make the 30 minutes. We all say that we don't, but we can make it. But it's easy not to do. So we really have to think in terms of anti-aging and our overall energy and our mind and mood. We need to get in that exercise. So crucial, crucial, crucial. All right. Next up, we are working down our line. Step number 7, eliminate toxins from your life. Have we ever talked about this before? So again, like I haven't read this book in a long, long time. I mean, it's great that I'm picking it back up, and that's what I do. This was written in 2001. I don't know when I read this book, but it was probably shortly after that, a couple years after that. So, I mean, ridding toxins from our life. We talk about every 12 weeks, we do our community detox, right? So we do our functional medicine detox over at equilibriumnutrition.com. What I would say is this: if you don't know about eliminating toxins, I did a free course for you, completely free, about 2 hours long. We'll teach you everything that you need to know about detoxification from a functional medicine perspective. The difference than juicing, the difference than intestinal cleanses. It's not a cleanse, it's not a tea, it's not a juice. All of those can be very great, but they have nothing to do with liver detoxification. They really don't. So you can check that out at equilibriumnutrition.com/detox-course. equilibriumnutrition.com/detox-course. Probably nothing better that you can do than a daily intermittent fast of 12 hours to maybe 14 hours to maybe for some 16. I don't recommend really longer than that at all. And then every 12 weeks doing a longer fast, but a functional medicine detox. And starting to eliminate the more typical toxins, whether it be from water or air or cosmetics or bath products, all of those beginning to lower those. And again, I wrote about those in my book, The Rain Barrel Effect. All right. Step 8 is you can reverse your biological age by cultivating flexibility and creativity in consciousness. So let's talk a little bit more about this. This is on page 169 in his book. And let's go over that specifically now for you. And what he talks about is learning to let go when things don't seem to go your way. Practicing the wisdom of uncertainty, not being attached to the outcome, and letting go of the need to control. Learning to forgive by relinquishing grievances, resentments, and regrets. And again, I talk about this in the de-stress protocol as part of the emotions. When you feel anger or hate or any of these things, it actually hurts you much more than the person you're directing that towards, because you're the one who feels that anger and you're the one that's producing those stress hormones. So you need to let it go for you even more so maybe than that other person as well. And then putting creativity in practice, Deepak says learning the relaxation-based response, responding to all challenges in life, and helping others to resolve their problems by teaching them a specific creative, relaxed-based response. So really nice is letting go of a lot of the anger and resentment and guilt that you might be holding on to. It is holding you back from your true potential and learning to age in a much more energetic and graceful way. Step 9 is reversing your biological age through love. So this is on page 187. And what we talk about is reversing age through love is putting these things into practice. Listening attentively without interruption, meaning like genuinely listen to your partner, your spouse, coworker, friend, the person across from you. Expressing appreciation to at least one person every day in an honest and sincere manner. So I get super intense during the day. I'm caught up with work and case studies and helping people that aren't doing very well. And so I actually have something on my desk that says this. It's a specific quote. Let me see if I can find it right here. You can hear all the paperwork I always have clanging around, but basically what it says is the first thing that I leave on my desk for the night before, so I've always done it, is simply sending one person, not a million people, but a person, a nice message to start the day. And it could be a coworker, it could be a friend, could be a family member. And it's just expressing your appreciation. It'll make someone's day, all right? And it's a really nice thing to do. And then third one from Deepak is consciously engaging in loving touch with those close to me and becoming aware of my sexual energy in all its different expressions. Meaning that using your expression of love and sexuality in a positive manner, in a positive light. So especially if you are in a relationship and you are really looking to show that other person that they are appreciated, they are cared for, simply putting your arm around that person and expressing your love to them can let that other person know too that they are loved. And I think that most of us, deep down, we're looking to know that we're appreciated, we're respected, we're loved. And just letting the other person know that can sometimes, again, in kind, come back to you as well. So really nice there. That was step number 9. Step number 10 is maintaining a youthful mind. And kind of going back to step 1, and really the beginning of this conversation, is that I don't think that there is any greater factor in the aging-based process with learning to take life a little lighter, laughing a little bit more, and playing a little bit more with life. It's enjoying the journey, because at the end of the day, if you really look at it, it's all there is. And I've said this before, but every time we create a goal and we achieve that goal, what we typically do is we set more goals. And many of us have figured out that as we set goals for ourselves and we're striving for something, we feel like we're growing. We feel like there's creativity. And that alone brings happiness. It isn't always the achieving, but it's the striving for. It's the actual effort we put in. It is the doing and the word, the ideal that we're aiming for that brings us happiness, that allows us to believe that our life does matter and that we're hopefully in a practice of service where we're enhancing the lives of others at the same time. So a youthful mind means that there is no slowing down, that you are, of course, stopping each and every day, whether you're 25 years old or 85 years old, that you are stopping every day to appreciate life, that you're not waiting until you retire at whatever age to then allow the appreciation to set in. So as I always say, if you are able to foster gratitude for what you have right now in perspective, that even the things that you don't have, life is still pretty good. And typically it can be 10x much, much worse. So appreciating what we do have, grateful for what we do have, and the perspective to understand that although we don't maybe have what we have right now, what we want, we can achieve it. That all things are possible through our energetic and physical-based body. So hopefully this was helpful today. If you like this, if you like me doing book reviews, let me know. Just let me know on Instagram at Stephen Cabral on today's post. Also, let me know at cabralsupportgroup.com if you'd like. I love hearing your feedback. Thank you so much. And of course, if this was helpful, please do feel free to pass along to anyone else you feel it could serve. I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at stephencabral.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Stephen Cabral. And that's Stephen with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.